He's a great friend. He's an amazing person. And something that Bhupinder said, you deserve it. You deserve to breathe. You deserve to live. You deserve to live happy. Dr. Kwesi taught me that. I deserve to be authentic. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to go ahead and have my dreams. In fact, when I was doing I inaugurated the first very workshop that I have started today after 5.5 months. And I was really, really nervous. And I remember having a chat with Dr. Kwesi and saying to him that I'm going to be doing something like that, and to do with the eyes. And it was just out of fun that I wanted to experiment what it is more with the eyes. Eyes is not my topic. It's what Dr. Kwesi does. And whatever I've learned is from him. And what's really interesting, somebody just challenged me and said, could you get the eye glasses off the people's eyes? And what struck me, he's saying, can you get inauthenticity off people's eyes? Can you get them to have a real vision? I am so much in gratitude because when I was chatting with Dr. Kwesi, had he not said, go ahead and do it. And then I asked him, would you like to be there? And he said, yes, of course. And for the next session, I will tell him when it is. So today was like, I was really nervous. I said, it's going to be for 1.5 hours, but me being me, we went for about 2.5 hours. And I realized that last 4 days I've been researching, and there's so much that came out of that. So big thank you to Dr. Kwesi for teaching me, for grooming me so that I can talk about vision today. And I am so much in gratitude today that he is going to be talking about his life so that it's not just me who is learning. There are so many like me who think that they don't deserve. There's so many like me who think that they cannot move ahead. And yeah, and it's so interesting when we see someone else's life, especially when I was hearing Dr. Kwesi's life. So I always thought, Dr. Kwesi, that I was the brown girl in the white world. And I don't know what I was in India. Neither brown, neither black, neither what. And often, and this is what happened in Prague with me, that I was standing, I reached over there for the first time to stay. And I walked into a supermarket and I stood there and I was looking through the stuff that was kept. And 4 policemen came and stood next to me, speaking in a Chesky language and asking me to put my hands up. I put my hands up, wondering why were they asking me to do that. They mistook me to be an Israeli terrorist who was trying to plant a bomb under something. And I thought that only happens to people like me. So when I was reading through when he was telling me about his life, I just stood there and said, wow, it happens to all of us at some stage or the other. Over to Dr. Kwesi. Thank you again for being here. Thank you. Every time you come, I just feel very supported. Thank you so much.
So, thank you very much, Dr. Anu, for this wonderful introduction. And my acknowledgement to your community in India, what you have been creating during this COVID-19 times, which are challenging for all of us. So Anu asked me to share my life with you, the key moments of my life, so that, that you know who I am. And of course, I accepted Anu's invitation. And I'm Dr. Kwesi. My name is Kwesi. Anan, that are my first names, and Odum is my family name. I was born in Germany in 1965. In October, I'm going to be 55. And I was born in Heidelberg, in the German university town. That is where my late father studied medicine. And I have 3 siblings, 1 elder brother and 1 younger brother and 1 younger sister. And my father left Ghana in 1961 to come to Germany and study medicine. and my mother followed 1.5 years later. And in Ghana, I want to start with my father because he had a big influence in my life. Can you hear me or can't you hear me? Hello?
I'm just going to mute everybody. Dr. Kwesi, you'll have to unmute yourself again. I've just muted.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm unmuted. So I want to share one episode of the life of my father because that had a big impact on the upbringing of me and my siblings. My father was born in Gold Coast, Ghana. At that time, Ghana was a colony of the British Empire, just like India. He was born in 1938 and Ghana became independent in 1957. And while he was a student, he was at school, he was very interested also in religion because that was the Christianity, the Christian religion, that was what the colonial masters brought to Ghana. So he was a lay preacher in the Methodist Church, and his vision was, I want to become a minister and serve the word of God. So when independence came in 1957, and the first president of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, said, now it's time to be self-dependent, self-responsible for ourselves. We need to train ourselves. We need educated people to become minister. Father choose, I will study medicine. And so he came to Germany. His first choice was the United Kingdom, but he didn't get that, so he came to Germany. And as a believing Christian, he went to church. So, and after you've been there 5 times, the Christians go to church Sunday, this Christian Protestants. So the priest came to him and the minister and said, yes, I know that you come to church because you believe in God, but the white German church members don't want you to be here. So they were just being racist and told them this church is not for you as a black man. So when my father heard that, he said he is not going to believe in religion anymore, and he never went to church again. Even when his siblings in Ghana passed away and he went to the funeral and all of them were Christians, he did not enter the church. He didn't bring us up in any Christian belief, so we didn't get any teaching about the Bible or any other religion. So that was one of the first experience of my father in Germany, because Anu just mentioned what happened to her when she was in Prague. And my father experienced that what they were praying to the people all over the world that become a Christ and a Christian, and all men were made in the image of God, and of course the women, and they were not practicing it. And he was disgusted about it. So disgusted that he only ever entered the church once again. That was when one of his elder sisters passed away. That was the only time he went to church again after 1960. And that was in 2008. Yeah, so, and he told us this story, and that also had a huge impact on me. So while we were living in Germany, I went to the kindergarten. That's what people do in Europe. And because everybody is busy, everybody is working. And the interesting thing is that at that time, bringing children up as a woman was the main, was the norm, yeah. But my father and my mother, who were living in Germany at the beginning, they had some challenges in their marriage and they separated. So my father was alone with me for some time, and he was still going to university, to classrooms, and he didn't know how to manage that. He didn't have money for a babysitter as a student who depended on the scholarship from Ghana. So then he thought, okay, I can just leave, baby must have been about maybe 10 months old, alone, and so that he doesn't disturb the neighbors, he plastered my mouth and left me alone in the flat. So I don't know how long I stayed there, and I didn't have any memory about this incident. till maybe when I was about in my late 20s, then my father told me that that's what he did. And he really blamed himself for doing that. And he said he could never forgive that he did to me. So that was something that happened to me in a very early childhood. And when I was a child, I had nightmares. I even didn't know if is it a nightmare or is it real, because I woke up, or I thought I woke up, and I was screaming. I was trying to scream, and no sound came out of my throat. Or I thought no sound came out because I didn't know, did I scream? Was it in dream? Was it in real life? Did somebody hear me? But because nobody came and said, hey, what are you doing screaming around? Then nothing came out. And I was always wondering, why is this happening? So when I then became a medical student myself, because of the influence of my father and also of his second wife, my German mother, I became a medical student, and I studied in Germany at the Baltic Sea at Kiel. And I had some challenges with my father, and that was in the time before internet. So we were writing real letters. So the younger people maybe even don't know what this is about. And I was posting a letter to my father where I was challenging him. And then he wrote me back. And he said, yes, I know why you're writing this letter, because that is what I did when you were a toddler. I left you alone, plastered your mouth, and now all this anger is coming out. So that's when I got to know what happened. I didn't have any clue about why was I having these experiences at night. And when he shared that with me, then I understood. And the interesting thing is that, yes, the consciousness about what happened, even not touching the deep underlying emotions that were present at that time when I was a toddler. I couldn't touch them at that time, but just knowing what it was about, the consciousness, and being at peace with it at that time, and just being grateful for my father that he shared information for me that gave me deeper understanding about myself. And these experiences at night, they almost disappeared. Since then, I maybe had them 2 or 3 times. So they disappeared because I knew what this was about. So that is the deep story between me and my father. And that also explained to me why there are times where I love just being on my own. Yeah, Anu says, oh, Dr. Kwesi has disappeared again. Nobody can get him. Yeah, because I was used to being alone in spite of the terrifying experience, the fear and the anger that were present at that time. I survived, and that had an impact on my personality. Yeah, so that was a kind of initiation that my father gave me, that when I am alone, I don't feel I'm not lonely. And when I'm alone, a lot of inspirations come up in that time. And whenever I come back, then I've discovered something new for myself. So that had a deep, deep imprint in creating my personality, what happened between me and my father. My mother was not present at that time. When my mother came from Ghana, she was shocked about the experience in Germany, that the motherhood didn't have the value that she experienced in Ghana. And that was a cultural shock for her. And she could never cope in Germany. So when my parents separated, she then went to live in the United Kingdom, because in the United Kingdom, there were more people from Ghanaian origin living there, Ghanaian immigrants, and that's where she had a community where she felt at home. Yeah, so that's why I didn't have a lot of contact with my mother till I became 23 years old. So that were my very, very first years. And as Anu mentioned, her experience in Prague, I had a lot of experiences about racism in Germany. And I also had a lot of experiences where white German were aware of the underlying racism in the nation, in Germany, in the society, and also about the history. Because you all know that in First World War, German was one of the main actors, and in Second World Wars, the atrocities against humankind, especially the Holocaust, that's also part of the German history. And I remember when we had the Holocaust at school, the history teacher, he said, if anybody is going to make a joke, because we were going to see a film about a concentration camp, I will make sure that this person is going to be thrown out of school. So he was very, very clear. He didn't allow any jokes about such an important topic. And I was very impressed about how clear and how strict and how authentic this teacher was. So that's why I was also very interested in teacher, because this teacher was a man of integrity, and I never forgot what he said. And because he also said that, I felt safe, because I was the only Black kid at school in that time in the 70s. And by seeing what happened to the Jewish people and also other foreigners or opponents in the German Nazi time, and me being the only Black kid, I asked myself a question: if something like this would happen again right now, would there anybody be to support you, to defend you? And with that teacher, I could say yes. And that really gave me, made me feel safe in that environment. So he was a wise man, and my schoolmates, they were young as me, and I didn't have so much trust that they wouldn't be told by their parents, now you have to do this. So I have to honestly say I didn't trust them that much. But this teacher and some other teachers who had experienced a lot in life, who even experienced part of the Second World War as kids, I really acknowledge them for having a stand for humanity when they shared that in their lessons. So school was somehow challenging because I really never felt connected to my schoolmates. One part was because of my history with what happened between me and my father, being alone. And the other thing is that, as Anu said, the brown girl in the white world. So I was the Black boy in the white world. And where I felt home was at home with my brothers and my sister and my parents, because we had a white German mother, my stepmother, my father who was a Black African, and then my sister was the child of my German mother and my Black father. So we had everything in the family. And for us, it was not understandable how people could be racist, because we experienced just absolute mixture of all kinds of cultural backgrounds. And at school, I had to fight. Yeah, people just attacked me when they saw me because I was Black. And so I learned at a very early age that I have to be strong, and that I need my family as my support, otherwise I'm lost. And that I don't only have to be strong, I have to be clever, I have to be intelligent. Yeah, when late Kofi Annan became the General Secretary of the United Nations, in an interview he said, because he also then later went to live in Sweden and then in the US, also in the white-dominated countries, and he said, you have to be more intelligent than the Aborigines. And that's exactly what I then said to myself. And my father was a man of education, so we spoke German at home. We didn't speak English, or we didn't speak his native Akan language, Fanti, because he said, I want you to understand everything in this society, so you have to understand the language perfectly. So that was very, very important. And he was a strict schoolmaster at home for us kids. So he gave us the best possible education. And that was also the reason why we didn't stay in Ghana, because my father got a scholarship from Ghana to study medicine. And after that, he and my German mother and we kids, we went back to Ghana. And the plan was to live in Ghana and to stay there, because he was working as a medical doctor in the town of Tamale in the northern region. And he loved to work there. And for us kids, I was about 5 years old at that time. It was fantastic. Yeah, we moved from cold Germany to warm Ghana because we left in around November, December. And the town where we were living was full, was an international, there were a lot of international people there because at that time, Ghana, just after some decades after independence, was in the process of developing the country. So there were engineers from Denmark and also engineers from India and from states were people there. So even from Australia, so from all over the world. And as children of a medical doctor, we belong to the upper society, to the high society. So for us children, it was a dream. Yeah, and that's also where I started school. And there was one situation that really also was a key experience. At school, we were asked to donate for the school. So I remember I told that my father, he gave me an envelope with some money in, some bills, and I brought it to the school and the teacher opened it in the classroom and all the other kids were having big eyes and were looking. And then later I told my father, yeah, I gave the money to the teacher and the other kids were all very curious and looking. He said, well, you know that we belong to the upper society and I don't think that any other kid in the school has ever seen a bill. And that shocked me because for me, that was just natural the way we were living. And I didn't grow up in Ghana. So I didn't know about the life of the normal people, what they were going through. And I was really shocked. And that also made me feel separated from the kids in Ghana. Yeah, because somehow after this incident, they saw me completely different. And they also treated me different with very much respect, but they treated me as if I was better than them because I came from a family that had money. And that also shocked me. So my friends there at that time in Ghana as a kid were the friends of the other expats who were living in Ghana. And I was very close to them and we loved it. And we would have stayed in Ghana, but then the military coup happened and situation got worse about security-wise and also financial-wise for the whole country, the economy. And my father then made a choice. He said, this is not the right environment to bring up children. We're going back to Germany. My German mother didn't want to go back to Germany because she enjoyed Ghana far better than Germany, but my father said things are getting worse because he grew up in Ghana and he could read the signs of the time. So we left. And because saying that you're leaving after getting a scholarship from the government might have been challenging, he later told me that, well, we just took holidays. We packed a lot of things in our VW Volkswagen bus, put it on a ship, and we took the plane to Germany. And he said, we're just going on holidays, and he never came back. So that's how we left Ghana and came back to Germany. And then I continued school in Germany and all that what I just shared before with the experience of racism happened. And for me, that was like being taken away from paradise and going back to normal. And that was for us kids very challenging to adapt again to Germany. Language, we learned it very fast, but for us it was also, like we've lost our paradise. So, and my vision was when school is over and I go to university, things are going to be different because students are educated, students are open-minded, they are international, they are metropolitan. So I went to university with that big hopes. You know that when you're young, you've got a lot of hopes. Yeah, and when you have got hopes and expectations, you will always be disappointed. So what did I experience when I entered university? At school, I had Latin. The Latin teacher was the same teacher who was my history teacher. So he was my favorite teacher. And I had Latin, and you needed Latin if you wanted to study medicine. And if you hadn't had Latin at school, you have to sit in the course for medical terminology. So I applied for university. I got accepted, I registered. And then I was told, oh, but you have to sit in this course in medical terminology. And I was asking myself, okay, it looks like they don't accept my Latin. I don't know why, because that's what they told me, Latin is okay. But okay, I went to the course. And then the professor, the lecturer, he apologized. He said, I apologize. I don't know why, but it's clear in your papers that you have made your Kleine Latinum, the small Latin, and you have the Latin course, so you don't need to sit here. And then it was clear for me that because I had a black skin, they just thought that, oh, he can't have had Latin courses at school. And they just implied that, okay, go and do the course. So the teacher said, I don't need to sit in that course. You don't need this certificate. You've already got it. And again, a history teacher, a man of wisdom, he was very funny. His course was one of the best courses I visited, and I loved it. And I learned a lot about medical history when he explained where the words came from. So I sat in the course, even if I didn't have to, because I enjoyed it. And it was again a history teacher who was making an impact on me. And on the other side, my visions and the expectations that I had about the open-mindedness at university, they just crushed on the first day. And then I also experienced the narrow-mindedness of a lot of students, because for them it was not, they couldn't understand or they couldn't believe that there were Blacks being born in Germany and had the same upbringing like them education-wise in Germany. So that was very challenging, because sometimes when we had courses and I said something, somebody said, oh, stop saying stories about Africa. That can't be true. And I remember that I said something at the anatomy course where we had to identify the different organs on the dead body. And one elder student was our supervisor, and I said something and he said, no, that's wrong. And the next day he came and said, I apologize, you were right. Yeah. And that really made an impact on me. I said, wow, there are some people who can admit that they have been wrong and can openly admit it, not only to me, but in front of the whole course. So I had some experiences where I had encounters with people who were open-minded and who could stand up and said, I made a mistake, and that impressed me. And the most people I was connected with at university were students from Turkey, from Iran, and from India. And because I was also a member of an international student group, and I went into student politics. I was even elected in the student parliament for two semesters at that time. And that was also when I came to India the first time, because I was in a student group with my friend Manika. She became a professor for geophysics, and she married her German partner, and the marriage was in Mumbai. At that time, it was still called Bombay in 1991 or 92. And that was also the year when Nelson Mandela, who was then already president of South Africa, visited India. So we went with Panem, which doesn't exist anymore. We went from Frankfurt to Bombay and joined the wedding. And that was my first encounter with the Indian culture. And it was amazing. It was so completely different. And comparing India, a former United English colony, British colony, with Ghana, I saw a difference and I said, wow, these Indian guys, they are so advanced. They've got so many people, and somehow miracle-wise, the infrastructure is still working in a town like Mumbai. It was just amazing. And then we had this henna party before the wedding. That was also very interesting. And then was the wedding ceremony. And I went there with 3 friends from Germany. And after the ceremony, we were all thinking, oh yeah, okay, good. Now there's going to be the party like we have it in Germany. And then they said, oh, okay, now it's over. We are all going home. And we were surprised. And then we got it. Okay, so partying doesn't seem to be so much rooted in the Indian culture at that time. And so then Manika told us a lot about the Indian, the Hindu culture, the Hindu traditions. We also watched these films about the Bhagavad Gita with all the gods on the battlefield, and it was really, really impressive. And then we went to Goa by bus. That was a very interesting ride, and I was amazed about the beaches in Goa, about the infrastructure. And then later I separated from my friends and I went alone. You got it by now that I have the tendency to be a loner, and took the plane from Goa to Trivandrum, Kerala. Trivandrum, Cochin. And I went to a beach called Vakala, and that was for me the best beach I've ever been. Kerala was the people were so friendly. I felt at home. The beaches looked like the beaches in Ghana, and it was just amazing. And I felt so at home in India. That was amazing. Yeah. Elderly people came and talked to me and said, "Oh, where you come from?" "Oh, Ghana." "Oh, yes, our late president Nehru was friend with your first president, Kwame Nkrumah." And then they told stories about their experience during colonial times. And I really I really felt welcome there. That was very nice. And one of the most touching experiences I ever had in my life was I was doing a trip on the backwaters on the river delta in Kerala. And some fishermen in a boat, they saw me from maybe 100 meters away, and they just started waving and saying, "Mandela, Mandela." So the Indians were very proud that India was the first country that Mandela visited when he became president. So that was an experience. So that's why whenever I come to India, I really feel at home. Yeah, that's how it should be. You should always feel at home where you are. And in India, it's very easy for me to do that. And yeah, and then I finished my studies. And in my studies in between, I went to Ghana, and I met my first wife, a Ghanaian, and I got my first child, my daughter Sheila. And then I finished my studies, and I had to choose, what are you going to do now? And again, one of the professors, the lecturers, had a huge impact on my choice to study, to become a specialist in ophthalmology, an eye doctor. And when my father left for Ghana in 1988, because he said, "I got a scholarship, it's my duty to go back and to serve the people of Ghana. When all the children have passed their school, then I go back." And that's what he did in 1988. And he was financing me. So then I had to start working as a nurse at night, as a student in the ICU, on the internal care unit, night shifts to finance myself. And in the mornings when I left at 5, 6 a.m. and then the lecture started at 8, 9, sometimes I didn't make it because I was too tired. And that happened 2 times in the eye course. And I was only allowed to miss it 2 times. So I've already missed 2 times the eye course, and I overslept again, and I would have had to do the course again, and I would have lost 1 year. But the lecturer said, where is Kwesi? And the other guy said, "Oh yeah, he was on night shift, he might have overslept." And he said, "Okay, if he misses, he has to do the course again. Do you know where he lives?" "Yeah, he just lives 5 minutes from the university clinic." "Okay, go and catch him and bring him back." And that's what they did. They knocked at my door, they rang the bell. I got up, I dressed, and I came back to the course. And I said, "Wow, what for a nice man, this lecturer." He was really thinking about me. And on the other side, when he presented the subject of the eyes, he was just very, very down to earth. He didn't say this is the best of all and said the other subjects are no good. He just said that's the eyes and that's what you can do. And because of how he supported me, and because also with the eye you just need the light and the loop, I said, "Okay, I will do eyes in my internship, and then I will see if it's something where I want to specialize." And when I did the internship in the eyes, I really loved it. And yeah, and that's why I became an eye doctor. Yeah. And in this internship, I did 3 months surgery in Ghana in the clinic, in the surgical department where my father was the medical director. And at that time, my intention was to study medicine and to go back to Ghana and serve as a doctor, just like my father did. And this 3 months in Ghana changed my point of view when it came to that, because what I experienced was the challenges in the medical health system where there are not enough funds, where there are not enough equipment, and where some of the workers, the doctors and the nurses, don't serve but want to profit themselves by asking the patients to pay for services the patient shouldn't pay. The Ghanaian system is like the English system. It's a national health system run by the Ministry of Health, and no patient should pay extra. And I experienced that, and I even experienced that once in a weekend. There was a young girl with acute appendicitis, and she needed operation. And my father was talking to the relatives and said, okay, yes, she needs to be operated. It's an emergency. But then the anesthetist, and that was a male nurse, because at that time there weren't doctors who specialized in anesthesia, he said, I will only come to theater and be present at the operation when the family of the girls pays me extra. They couldn't afford. So he didn't come to theater. My father couldn't operate, and the 14-year-old girl passed away. And I was furious. I was angry. I wanted to beat up, I wanted to kill this anesthetist. And my father was the one who was holding me back. And then I said, I am not ready to work and live in Ghana right now. I can't. Because my father won't always be there to stop me, and who knows what's going to happen. So I was not at peace with what happened there. And that's why when I then finished my studies after the internship and I sat my final exam, I stayed in Germany. And I started first in internal medicine for 1.5 years, and then I started my training in the eyes, in ophthalmology, and that was amazing. And at that time, it was difficult to get a post in ophthalmology. And I remember my first post was in a small clinic, just run by one eye specialist, who was my supervisor. And I had some experience during my 3-month internship in eyes, but I was just really a beginner. And on the third day, when I wanted to present a case to him, I couldn't find him, and I went to the clinic and I went to the nurses and said, "Where's the doctor?" He said, "Oh, didn't we tell you he's not here today? You are alone." So straight from the beginning, I had to rely on myself. So again, I was alone at this time in the clinic, and I had to learn. And if there was something where I couldn't continue, then I could call him. And he was not in the clinic because he had lung cancer. That's what he revealed to me. And he didn't survive for, I think, more than a year, and he passed away. But then after some months, another doctor came as a locum doctor, and I learned a lot from him. And that was where I also asked myself, wow, why did he pass away? He was just in his 40s. And he was one of the first one who told me about that there's more behind medicine than what we are taught at medical school, that the psyche is very important. That's also the experience I got when I was in India, because my Indian friend Monica, she said, oh, a lot of people in Mumbai, they have heart issues and they die very early. And I thought, what? We learn in Germany that the Indians eat a lot of vegetables and are walking more, are more in the fresh air than the people in Germany. So why should they get heart issues? Because this is all they shouldn't get it. They are living more healthy. Yeah. And then I found out that Monica said it's the stress what they're going through in Mumbai. So that was also one of the first times where I got to know that there's more behind disease than what I learned at medical school. And when that doctor passed away, I was shocked. And then I continued my training. I went to another clinic. And because at that clinic, I couldn't learn how to operate cataract. At that time, my intention was I want to become a surgeon and an eye surgeon. And because I had to wait for about 3 years before I had the opportunity to join another clinic where I could learn it, I had a low esteem about myself, just as Anu said, the way we look at ourselves. And I thought, if I'm not becoming an eye surgeon, I'm not going to be a good doctor. So getting that post was a resolution for me. Before I even went to that post, I almost passed away with malaria. Yeah. 1 year before, I'd been to Ghana for 6 weeks, unpaid holiday, just to get to know ophthalmology in Ghana. Even so, I said I'm not going to live in Ghana. I still wanted to go and spend time in Ghana and do work operations when I'm once an eye specialist, and support the people as good as possible. And when I came back 1 year later, I had symptoms of malaria, which I first didn't identify. And when I identified it, I said, okay, I have to go to the clinic because it's getting worse. Every 3 days, fever, vomiting, headaches. But I was on night shift that week. And I said, I would just wait till my night shift is over, till Friday. And then I will go to the hospital and take care of myself, patients first. That's what I learned from my father. Yeah. And then on Thursday, I went to bed at about 8, 9 in the evening. I was really feeling miserable. And I thought just one day, and then I go to the doctor myself. And then I got a call from a patient, infection in the eye, emergency. So I went to the clinic. And when I arrived there, everything turned black. And I told the patient husband, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well myself. I can't examine you and treat you. I have to call another doctor. So I called another doctor. And when that doctor came, he first took care of the patient, and then he brought me to the hospital. And I remember saying to the doctor on duty, really look at my blood. I'm sure it's malaria, and I don't want to wake up in the morgue the next morning. The next thing I remember is he came back completely shocked and said, my blood is full of malaria parasites. And they put me on the ICU. I got the drip, and then I fell unconscious. And when I woke up, even now I can't even remember how many days I was not with consciousness. I got the news. It was then on the TV in the patient room that Lady Diana passed away. So that was 1998. Yeah. And the interesting thing is, my father almost died from malaria when he went back to Ghana. Yeah, in 1988, in about July, he went back to Ghana, and I think in August he got malaria and he almost passed away. And I went through that same pattern 10 years later. And I also went through the same pattern like him, that he separated from his Ghanaian wife, and I also separated from my Ghanaian wife, and the same pattern as my father. So it's interesting how we yeah, that's some kind of reenact the experiences of our fathers or our forefathers. Yeah, so I was 4 weeks in hospital, and then I went to the new clinic where I could then continue my medical training in ophthalmology and become an eye surgeon. But I didn't get along well with that doctor, so I changed to a bigger clinic where I could then complete my training and also continue becoming a training to become a surgeon. And there were 2 medical directors, and with the one medical director, I was not in so much resonance, so I changed to the other one because he was also flying in his holidays and operating in Eritrea. And he said, I will train you, you will join me to Eritrea, we will operate together, I will teach you, and then I will also join you to Ghana. And one morning he came, he was very pale, and he said, I have to apologize. I was diagnosed with stomach cancer. I have to go to the hospital now, and I don't know when I'm back. He never came back. 6 months later, he was dead. So that was the second time that one of my supervisors passed away with cancer. And I asked myself, what is going on? Yeah, and the last time I met him, he told me that all the status, all the money that you earn as a medical doctor is not worth it when you are not yourself and when you're not connected to your family. He regretted the choices he made in his life, because his dream when he was a school student was he wanted to become an artist. Drawing, he loved drawing, but because of the peer pressure from his family, he became a medical doctor. And yeah, so he never really fully expressed himself and his potential. And that's what he told me before he passed away. So when I finished my, and the other medical director then said, you choose to train with this doctor. He's not there anymore. So now your training in eye surgery is over. So I just did some few operations. I didn't get a lot of routine. And also I was so shocked when that doctor passed away. I said, I don't have the ambition anymore to become an eye doctor. Also what he told me, and not an eye doctor, an eye surgeon. So I was just working as a conservative eye doctor. And because two of my supervisors passed away with cancer, I said, I want to understand more what's behind the human psyche. And after becoming an eye doctor, I went to work in a psychiatric clinic for 2 years. And then I got some deeper understanding about psychosomatic medicine, but it was mainly more psychopharmacology. That means drugs for mental disorders. But I also gained a lot about psychosomatic medicine. And then I got my own clinic, and that is where I had patients who came over a long period, and I could see how they've been impacted in events that happened in their lives. And the first thing that I discovered was there has to be something with cataract, and that they are separated from people whom they love. Because one woman came, suddenly cataract on one eye, what happened? Oh, my husband passed away. Another man, a man came, cataract on one eye, and I asked, okay, yeah, well, how's your life? And oh yeah, the kids have left home and I miss them, and they hardly contact me. And then I said, there must be a connection that can't be a coincidence. So I did some research in the internet, and then I came on the website of New German Medicine. And I found it interesting what was written there, even though I didn't fully understand everything. And on the other side, what I read there about Dr. Hamer's anti-Semitic views, I was disgusted. Because that was for me pure racism, and I experienced racism myself, and I absolutely felt disgusted. So I just got a newsletter, but I was not interested in learning it. And I just read what I saw there myself and tried to cope with that. But I still got a newsletter, and in that newsletter, there was then an invitation to come to an evening, an introduction to new medicine, by one of Dr. Hamer's students from Austria. And it was just next door from the town where I was living. So I said, okay, just try it. And I went there, and it was very interesting. And the people were acknowledged that I, as a medical doctor, was open for such a viewpoint. For me, it was normal, because that's what I always thought. You always learn more to understand more. And if what you've learned is not explaining the things, then you have to dig deeper. And that's what I did. So what I learned from there was very interesting, because then I understood the basic principles. But on the other side, there was still this political impact with this anti-Semitism. And I said, that's not good. On the other side, I felt attracted to the knowledge. And I said, okay, there's an evening, there's a weekend course. I will go there and I will see what comes out. So I went to that evening course. Medical information still good, and still this anti-Semitic racist nonsense. And I said, I'm stopping this. So I didn't go there anymore. I also didn't read the newsletters. But then somehow there was a documentary on TV about a health practitioner who was teaching new medicine. And he was framed by a camera team, which framed him, and because they wanted to prove that they are all quacks. Yeah, because there was a kid with I think it was leukemia. I can't really remember. And they went to this hair practitioner, and he knew that that was already a sign of regeneration. The kid doesn't need chemotherapy, but if they have to go back to the doctor will say chemotherapy. But he said, I know a doctor where you can go, and he can write you a report so that you don't need chemotherapy. And that was just a faked interview. Yeah. And they put it on TV, and then this doctor was big in the news, and it was said that he is such a bad guy and telling patients to deceive their doctor who's doing this. So he had a lot of problems. But then I found out that this man is giving a 3 month training in new medicine. And somehow I said, okay, give it a try. So I went to his first workshop and he said, I am just calling it new medicine. I'm not doing any politics. It's just medicine. And I said, good, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I stayed there. And in that first course, a woman, one of the other delegates, she asked, but isn't there also Dr. Anton Bader and meta medicine? Yeah, and this health practitioner just said yes. So people from all over the world. So I found that very interesting. It was international, and they were integrating everything and not so narrow-minded like New German medicine. So I also did. Then I did both. Yeah, and I also found out that the New German medicine people did not cooperate with others who were doing similar things because they said they were just all copywriting this, they were all stealing this. So I kept quiet about that. And then I met Dr. Anton Bader, Johannes Hisslinger, and Christa Urischer, and they became my master trainers. And that's also where I first met Richard Flug, whom you all know. And at one of the workshops, and we became close friends. And I got deeper understanding in the root cause of eye disorders, and I was just fascinated. I kept on asking my patients about background and events in their lives, and most of them were surprised. Why is he asking that? But on the other side, he said, at least he's talking to us. The other doctors don't take time to talk, and they were happy that I was asking what was going on in their life. And I remember one incident that really showed me that I have to be very careful how I communicate with the patients. There was one woman who had an eye of the retina, and her vision got worse and worse, and it got so worse that she was not allowed anymore legally to drive a car. And I communicated that to her. And then she didn't come back for some months. And after some months, she came and she said, you know what, doctor? I had breast cancer, I had operation, I had chemotherapy, and I got the breast cancer because you told me I'm not allowed to drive the car anymore because I'm separated, I don't have kids, and the car was all I had. And you separated me from my car. And I said, wow, that fits with what we've learned in meta medicine, the separation. When you remember the story of Richard Flug, where his mother got the cancer when she separated from the kids. And for that lady, somehow the car was either her partner or her kid. And I said, wow, the way I communicate with patients has such an impact. I really have to be mindful how I'm being in communication, not only with the patients, but in general. And that was really a very, very deep experience for me. But on the other side, that was the last confirmation I needed to really accept that what I've learned in meta medicine and in new medicine, that's really how it is. And yeah, and then it was my vision to combine the traditional medicine and meta medicine. And that didn't work in my own clinic because the meta medicine cases were very time intensive. And at that time, I had a new marriage and I wanted to spend more time with my wife. So then I said, I will go in partnership with other doctors in a clinic in Germany. Then I have to work less and I've got more time for meta medicine. What I didn't consider is that the other doctors were not open to the concept. I explained it to them, they listened to it, they were not open to it. And also with the staff who organized the appointments, sometimes patients called and said, I want an appointment, meta medicine with Dr. Odum, and they just put in the normal consultation time, and that didn't work. Sometimes they were traveling 200-300 kilometers and just 10 minutes of time was booked to them. So then at least I took half an hour, but then the other patients had to wait and they were complaining. And then there were some conversations with the partners that this is not how it works. And then I decided, it doesn't work. It's not workable. So I'm leaving the clinic, and I've got other doctors who are open for that in the town of Berlin, and we can work together and start a partnership and a clinic where I can integrate meta medicine. I moved to Berlin, but the clinic with the friends and colleagues never happened because one of them became ill, also cancer. And even though he understood everything what was behind the cancer, he couldn't get into the emotion and he couldn't let go the emotion, so he passed away. And one of the other doctors from former East Germany, there was again something in the news and TV about him. And they revealed that he was a spy for the East German Secret Service under the government of the East German in East Germany, and he spied on his patients. So then that didn't work to have a clinic with him also. And so I was just still doing traditional ophthalmology, and I was starting doing workshops. And that was really, really a joy to share with people what was behind the eye disorders. And on the other side, there was still the challenge for me. Okay, now you've understood it, but what's the next step? How can people let it go? How can they regenerate? How can they solve it? So I started NLP because I got it that communication is very important. I also had a course in TFT, and somehow I was not so much in resonance with TFT. Somehow I didn't use it much, even so I learned it. And I was always asking myself, what is it that is needed to overcome the symptoms, the disease? So that was a question that I had for years. And when we had our different mental health conferences, and I listened to a lot of what the other colleagues shared about the modalities, and somehow I was with nothing in real resonance, even so they had their benefits with it and their clients, they had their success with it. I was not in resonance. And one person that really had a huge impact on me, the way she worked, was Anu. Because I remember I met her 11 in Estonia, and Richard Flug introduced her to me, and he said that, yeah, I'm leaving Meta Health, and I'm her master trainer, and she's a very bright, talented, intelligent, authentic woman. Can you be a master trainer? And I said yes. And I remember that she asked me a question about some client who had a color disorder, and from my understanding I shared with her what was behind it, and I even used more something that I learned from late Professor Max Luscher, who was the founder of the Lusher test. So I was also becoming a trainer in the psychosomatic color diagnostic. And then later she called me on Skype when she was back in India and said, oh yeah, with what I told her, she worked with them, and that really made a difference in their lives. And I was surprised, because I even couldn't believe, because that was just a theory, because I just, with the information I got, that was just what I got out of it, but it was accurate. And I said, wow. And that she had the possibility to what I told her, and then to work with the client and have an impact, that really deeply impressed me. And I said, this woman is a genius. She is so good. That's incredible. And I said, she also has to become a master trainer. So when there was our Meta Health conference in Sharm el Sheikh in 2013, Anu became a master trainer. And later she told me what difference that made for her and what that really meant for her in her life. And I never really knew how much that meant to her. For me, it was just normal that somebody with this talent, with this competence, has to become a master trainer. The first master trainer for 1 billion people in India. That's a huge responsibility. Yeah, so I was still on the quest for what is the real methodology, the real therapy to overcome everything. So I was looking for that, and I was looking for that so much and working so much that I was not present in my marriage, and it didn't work anymore, because then I was also living in one town, working in the other, 500 kilometers apart. It was not workable, so we separated. And then Anu invited me in 2015 for my first workshop with her in India. And I really remember she asked me, are you coming? Are you coming? Because I haven't told her when I'm arriving. And she had organized an introduction evening on Tuesday. And then I posted, yes, I'll be there. And because of a spelling mistake, it was Thursday what I sent him. And straight away, Anu called back and said, Kwesi, when are you coming? I've got people on Tuesday evening. You arrived Tuesday morning, you said, but no, I'll be Thursday. And I said, oh, no, no, it's a spelling mistake. I'm Tuesday. So I arrived there and it was just amazing, the experience that I had. And again, I realized that I have to be very careful with being in communication, because the way I communicated, one woman in the evening talk, she felt that I did not acknowledge her religion, the Hindu religion, because I made a remark about the different gods, and she didn't like it. And then I got it that I have to be more careful by being in communication and more respectful, because she got it in a way that I didn't want to communicate it, but because we didn't clear that in communication, she was left with how she got it, and I meant it completely different. And I understood, be very careful, that's a very sensitive issue. And I also then met our trainer Kavita from Pune, and when I heard the word Pune, I said, "Oh, Pune, isn't that where Osho comes from?" And Anu said, "Yes." I said, "Oh, as a kid in Germany, I've seen a magazine with him on top, and where they shared about the community that he created in Oregon." And I was impressed that a philosopher from India had such an impact globally, and that he came to the US, and that he was driving in his Rolls Royce and waving to the people who were working for him. I said, that must be an interesting guy. How did he do it? And I have never read anything from Osho, but I felt interested in it, and I asked Anu, can we go there? Anu said, I've never been there, but let's go there. So we went there, and it was the last day that I had in Mumbai. The next day I was flying, so we went and paid, and the people said, it's a lot of money. You really just want to pay for half the day? They asked us 3 times. We said, yes, okay, good. So we registered, we went through the procedure that you have to do to get entrance. And then we wanted to go to one meditation, and we were 1 minute late and the door was already closed. So we couldn't go to that meditation. So we were then going to have just drinking some tea at they've got a nice pool there, and I was sitting there and drinking the tea, and suddenly I felt something that I've never felt in my life before. With myself and with the world. I don't know if it lasted for 1 second or for a minute. I was so peaceful. It was just amazing. And I said, wow, such a state is possible, to be at absolutely peace and just be. No thought, no distraction, nothing. And I've never felt that before. And when we drove back to Mumbai in the evening, I was still so full of joy of this experience. And in the night, suddenly I felt that the earth is shaking. I thought, wow, this is an earthquake. I was surprised that nobody was screaming. There were not lights going on, that Anu and her husband were also not coming and say, Kwesi, an earthquake, what do we have to do? So I said, okay, I'm not going to wake them up. I looked in the internet. I saw nothing about an earthquake. I waited for maybe about half an hour, and then I slept again. And then in the morning, when Doreen, one of our mental health trainers from Mumbai also, came to say bye-bye to me, and Anu, I told him, did you two also experience the earthquake in the night? And both of them got good eyes and said, what is this guy talking about? Is he crazy? But then I thought, okay, don't know, maybe it was a dream. And then I went on my flight back to Germany with British Airways via London. And in London Heathrow, I had about 4 hours to wait till my flight was leaving for Frankfurt. And then I was sitting there, and suddenly the earth started to shake again. And then I knew, wow, this is an inner earthquake and not an outer earthquake. Something that you experience, this moment of absolutely peace and quietness, is shaking up my ego. And luckily I had a homeopathic remedy with me that I could take so that I could board a flight. And when I arrived in Germany, I had to lie in bed for 2 weeks. At that time, I was doing locum work as an eye doctor, and one eye doctor asked me to join her clinic as a partner. And at that moment, I was thinking that I should accept it. But after that experience with this inner earthquake, I knew that no, your way is a different way. So then I just traveled the world, did workshops and also some locum work. And I started the training in Landmark. Landmark is a global organization for personal transformation through communication. So it's all about the impact of communication, because everything arises in communication. That's the dogma of Landmark. And I learned a lot about how I am communicating with myself and with others in that course. And that absolutely had an impact on me and transformed my life, because I got it. Wow, maybe the word, maybe the language is the only thing that we need to transform. And that the most important language is silence, what I experienced in Korega Park in Pune at the Osho Meditation Center. So then I said, wow, maybe that's the key. So it's all to the inside and not to the outside. And during this training with Landmark, that was after I had separated from my wife, I put up the intention, well, I've been alone for a long time. I want to have a new partnership. Yeah. And then I had a meeting with some of our meta trainers in England, because we wanted to cooperate. They had a Meta Health Academy. And one of the directors, the female director, Joanne, suddenly I saw her completely different. And I said, wow, all the years I've seen her since 2007, when we met at the meetings, conferences, and now suddenly she looked to me for me completely different. And I told her that, and she was shocked that I said that. Then we had an appointment, and then we came together. And that was also a time again where I had to make a choice, because after the experience with Osho, I got more into what Osho is about, started reading, and also about the concept of the meditation center. And there was the possibility to go there, to assist there, and then also you can also have your own courses that you can conduct there. And I was ready to go and live 3 or 6 months, or maybe even longer, in Pune. But then when I and Joanne came together, then I had to make a choice, and I said, okay, then I want to stay with Joanne, and I'm not going back to Pune to stay there for a longer time. Yeah, but I went to Osho again for 3 days this time, when I came the next time to have a course in 64 Keys about India in Mumbai. And that was again something happened or something I experienced what I haven't experienced before. I met one of the instructors for Qigong. He is a guy from Canada. And we just got in a conversation, and he said, oh yeah, he has never heard of Osho before, but his brother went there, and he didn't like his brother when he went there before, but when his brother came back, he was transformed. And he said, if something like that can have such a huge impact, let me try that also. So he went there, and then he stayed there. And then I told him about the experience I had a year before with this silence, and then with this inner earthquake. And he said, well, you should go to the sound meditation from Tibet, to that meditation. So I went there, and that was the first time where I consciously could get back in the state, in the situation where my father left me alone, and I could feel all this fear, this terror, this anger, and this sadness of being left alone in such as a toddler, and my mouth plastered. And I thought I was going to die. That was such a terror that I went through, and I couldn't move. I was just lying on the floor, and I couldn't move. And then I got, wow, that's the first time I could go that deep into that emotion, into that feelings that came up when I was so young. And I got it that, and all it needed was just to be receptive and to listen to sound. And that was amazing. And then I got it that even so, with all the information and the knowledge that I have gathered, I never came to such a deep level of what is hidden within myself for decades. And I could touch that. And with that experience, and then also with the education that I got at Landmark, that it's about letting go the past, I had a conversation with my father. And I told him that I've experienced these feelings. I even wasn't aware that they were there. And then I told him that I forgive him for what have happened. And my father could accept this that I forgive him. And that was also one of the situations where I think I was never so close to my father. And I even said it to him on the phone because he was in Ghana at that time. But that was so deep that I could share that with him. Yeah, and then I kept on giving workshops and kept on traveling the world, giving workshops and working locum. And then Joanne and I, we became our baby boy, Kwiku. He was born in 2017 in April. And there were some complications during the pregnancy and at birth. So I stopped working and I stopped giving workshops. And we were just all the three of us at home. And that was also the time then when I had also the opportunity to, just to rest and not to travel so much anymore, because since 2014 I was traveling a lot and giving workshops and doing locum. So that was one of the few times in my life where I was not always so busy. I was just at home. And also a lot of stuff from the past came up, where then I had the time to reflect on it and also to let it go. And I also had the time this time to be present with my child, because my first daughter, I was just working. That was the time when I was in training to become an eye doctor. Then when I started my own eye clinic, so I was not present for my daughter. And this time I was present. And what then also happened is that my daughter studied law at the law school, first Nottingham and then Birmingham. And then she even moved and stayed with us in Solihull near Birmingham. So that was for me, wow, now the whole family is together. And that was also amazing, because that was now the first time that I was having real time for my daughter. Yeah, so that was also what changed the relation to my daughter. That was really amazing to be together with Joanne and with my daughter Sheila and with Kwiku. Yeah, and then beginning of 2018, my father got very, very ill. And then I decided I will visit him in Ghana. So I went to Ghana to visit him, and what I saw when I saw him, he had pre-terminal kidney failure, and he had been to hospital, but then they sent him home, and he was waiting for the results. And even he himself, being a doctor, he didn't want to push his colleagues for the results. But when I came, he was almost suffocating. He had got so much water in the lungs, so I got him to hospital away, and then he stayed in hospital for about 4 weeks. And then they diagnosed and said, your kidneys are not going to work anymore. You need dialysis. And in Ghana, there is a national health system which covers the basic diseases, but dialysis is not covered. And that means you have to pay for that. I had conversations with my father where I asked him, are you open to discover what's behind it from the meta perspective? What's the underlying cause of it? And he was open to listen to me and to share with me, and when I asked him questions. And he got the kidney failure 30 years after he left Germany. 88, he left Germany. 2018, he got his kidney failure. And from what I knew before and what he shared with me was he put so much responsibility on his shoulders, not only for the the family. And with family, I don't only mean us, his children, but the whole family. He was the chief of the family, not the chief, but the advisor of the family, you could say. And then he was the medical director for a clinic where he worked, even though he was retired. But then they asked him, they said, there is no doctor in this clinic because it's in a remote area. And then my father felt that he should assist them. So he was driving there about, maybe 1-2 hours to that clinic, stayed there 3 days and came back, very bad roads and all the pressure that he had. And being connected from as children when he left to Ghana, and then also feeling left alone from the family because he had projects in mind that he wanted to implement and it didn't work. And then also the misery that he saw in the hospitals and the shortcomings of the medical system, it was just too much for him. And some things he said, they were so sad and so disappointing, he even couldn't share that with me. He took it in his grave. So after being diagnosed with this kidney failure, he was on dialysis 3 days a week. And in order to support him financially, then I started working Lokong again. And I went to Ghana one more time in July when he had his 80th birthday, because that was his dream to celebrate that. And he celebrated that. And about 3 to 4 weeks after his 80th birthday, he passed away. And the last time I met him, I had a conversation again with him, and I told him that what is between us, what happened when I was a toddler, I've forgiven you, and between us, everything is clear. And and he was happy that we could clear that before he passed away. Yeah, so that was also one life-changing moment for me, because now I'm without a father, and I'm a father myself, and because I reenacted so much what he experienced in his life, I asked myself, what about your kidneys? What about your feeling of belonging? And what about your visions in life and your goals in life? What is it that you really want? And I thought a lot about it, and also about the work I am doing in the eye clinic and also in Meta. And then I got it to severe skin disorder symptoms that I had myself beginning of this year in January, that my skin was so inflamed that I couldn't sleep for 10 nights. I sent Anu the pictures and she was shocked when she saw them. And I told myself, I am not going to take any traditional medicine. I'm just taking homeopathic remedies, Schüssler, tissue salts, and I want to discover what this is about. So I couldn't sleep for 10 days. I was still working in Germany. And I don't know even how I did it, because I still went to work. And I didn't sleep for 10 days. And in the nights when I was just reflecting what is behind it, I had a vision of a whole planet with all his billions of inhabitants exploding. And I felt all this terror, this shock, this pain, and the sadness about it. And I said, wow, is that a memory from long times ago where a planet might exploded? And then my mind said, yeah, we've got the asteroid Mars. So I even say that might have been a planet that exploded, and maybe we are here from this planet and in reincarnation to overcome the karma that we put on our shoulders when we destroy the planet. And I linked everything to what's happening right now in the world, the chaos, and even when COVID-19 started. So I was projecting it to the outside. And then to a friend with whom I shared that, he said, well, yeah, that might have happened, but look in the inside. Don't look to the outside. even if that had happened. What has this to do with yourself? And then I got it that I was on a way to destroying myself, to exploding myself. The question is, what did I do? Because before that, I didn't have any severe disease and I was fine. So I did some research to get deeper understanding. What has this to do with me that I am destroying myself? And what came up was that I then discovered through the literature that I went through that, okay, what I have learned at medical school and also in new medicine and also in meta health, all was founded on the understanding of the physiology, how traditional medicine sees it. And through some information that I then got and my own research, I found out, I'm not the first one who found it out, I just found it out for myself, that this is a wrong perception of our human nature, because I thought, that was my belief, that normal is natural. Those of you who have got background in meta medicine, you know we've got our graphic illustration from the stress and regeneration phase with the 8 important or 9 important points, and we say it starts normal, then we've got the stress, the regeneration, normal. Well, normal is not natural, is what I got. And I got it that I have been, since the beginning of my life, and just maybe the exception, this one moment at the pool in Pune, I have been always running on a stress emergency program, even so when I thought that I was normal. And not only I, but the whole humankind is on a collective stress emergency program for 6,000 years. What we call normal is a stress program, which has been regulated by the autonomous nervous system, by the hormone system, and that's what we call normal when we don't have severe symptoms. But it's already a stress-related program. And when the stress gets even more, call it disease. Because our true nature, that's also what was in most of the scriptures and also in the Vedic scriptures, is that our true nature is peace. To be at peace in all challenges of our life. And experience this in this one moment when I was in Pune, and that was when I was natural, when I was in my authentic way of being. And that's why it shattered up my ego. I felt that there's an earthquake, but it was an inner earthquake. Yeah. And then I got, wow, everything I've been learning and I've been doing, and even in meta, when I thought that is now out of the symptom, that's not normal. That's the normal stress program, but it's about natural and not normal. Because what our dear friend Bhupinder just shared at the beginning with we are not breathing properly, we are not being natural. He said we are not breathing natural because of all the stress. We are not being natural. Yeah, we are living in a world where time is money. Yeah, and I've never seen a place more busy than Mumbai. The only creatures I saw which were absolutely relaxed were the dogs on the streets. And I was amazed and shared that with Anu, and she was looking at me, what is you talking about the dogs? They were just running around lazily and through the traffic and surviving somehow. And they were relaxed, yeah? And we human beings, we are just busy, busy, busy and fighting for survival and trying to fix ourselves or others. And we are under stress. And that the brain and the hormone system need to regulate our physiology is already a sign of stress. That's my understanding now. It's not meant to be like that. Each cell can regulate itself through the mitochondria. And when we are under constant stress, which is not meant to be more than 80-20 minutes, that's how long the stress program should work. But that's what's working our whole life for millennia. And then I got, wow, this is what it's about. It's about being at absolute peace, whatever I experience. And that is the master key to being. And when I got that, I said, okay, so what are you going to do now? And the first thing is to start with very simple things, what Bhupinder said, with breathing. Another simple thing is water. Richard Flug was the first one who introduced the importance of water. And I think it was in 2011 in Estonia, where he talked about Dr. Pollack, who spoke about and did research on the fourth phase of water. Yeah. And also breathing, the kind of oxygen, or the way we think that oxygen has to be transported in the human body through the red blood cells, is also already the emergency program. It's not the normal program. So the whole understanding of physiology is the emergency program of physiology and not our natural physiology. That's the understanding that I have. And I'm doing more research into this because this is a complete shift of paradigm. Complete. So what I got is, it's just like inception. The stress in the stress in the stress. And what we call normal is stress, because normal is not natural. That's a distinction. Yeah, and why? Because time is money. And isn't it amazing that the global economy was shut down for several weeks at the beginning of this year due to COVID-19? Nobody would have ever thought that that's possible. No, that is not possible. We humans, we have to work. The economy needs to be running. It can be different. It has to be different when we want to be in our natural way of being. And it seems like, and that's my understanding about COVID-19, I'm not going in the outside and saying the governments are doing this and this. This is just a projection again to the outside. I am asking myself, what can I now transform in my life to be more at peace and to let go where I'm dependent? Because the way I used to live, to travel through the world and do workshops, I was supposed to go to India in August for workshops. It doesn't work. It didn't work. It's not working anymore right now. So I decided that I'm going to stop that, and I'm going to settle down with my family and work again in a clinic, because I can do that, and be at peace with that for 3 times the week, and the rest of the time I spend with my family and do my research. So I am changing, completely transforming my way of living, because it's not working anymore. And that's adapting to what is present right now in reality. And it doesn't mean that I feel forced to do something. That's my choice, that I do out of peace, because I have experienced and realized it's a different time now. And now when they're talking about the new normal, it's again normal, but normal is not natural. So for me, COVID-19 is for me getting back to natural, step by step by step. Yeah, that's how I see it. I don't know if you can still see me. Oh yes, I just vanished. Yeah. So that's how I see it, step by step by step. And that was such a mind-blowing experience that I got when I said, wow, everything what I learned and what I thought that is our normal physiology is a stress program. And I'm just now beginning to imagine for myself, how does the normal function, how does it look, and how does it feel? And one very, very interesting aspect is the role of the liver cells which produce the bile. Because in ancient scriptures, there are texts which state that the cause of every disease is within the bile. And when the bile is in the blood, it's already a sign of intoxication. And I remember that one of my uncles from my mother, who is a chief in Ghana, he said, oh, in Ghana, when they want to kill somebody, they just put a small, tiny drop of the bile of a crocodile in water, give it to the person to drink, and the person dies. So bile is toxic. And the scriptures that I'm reading, they say that in a normal, not normal, in a natural state of being, the bile is not needed for digestion. It's only needed when we are under stress. That's the function of the bile, only to function when we are under stress. And then I got it, wow. And that means that when we think it's normal that we digest with the bile, then it means the food that we're eating is already giving us stress. So what are we eating? We are intoxicating ourselves. Then we are stressing ourselves with the work that we think that we have to do, the money we are running after. Yeah, we are in the slave mill, all of us. And a lot of people, like Andrew said, brown girl in Czechoslovakia and me, a black boy in Germany, we are seen as former slaves or former people who have been colonized. So we would be the field slaves. And the others who are in the Western world, or those who have conquered Australia, New Zealand, they then think that they are free, but they are the house slaves. But we are all enslaved, all. And the question is really that each one identifies, discovers that for him and herself, where am I allowing that I am being enslaved? And where can I free myself? So that's what's now my quest for the rest of my life. And to create this moment that I experienced in Pune, that this is going to be my normal, natural state of being. That's my vision. Because that gave me so much peace. It's just amazing. Yeah. And now with the situation with COVID-19 at the moment, there is so much going on what we do not fully understand, or what I fully do not understand. I'll just only talk about myself, but I have the intuition. It might be right, it might be wrong. That's just my intuition. I have the intuition that it is about time for us to let go the change of enslavement, and that this is a first sign that we have the possibility to be without time is money. That the world economy, the world system has to change. Yeah, because it's not working anymore. If we continue, we might destroy this planet again. Or the planet might destroy us, because if you see what's going on now with earthquakes, with fires and this, there's so much going on that I am just looking at myself and saying, do the best for yourself what you can. And the challenges are huge. It starts with eating. I'm now working locum, staying in hotels where I can't cook myself. And what I've understood now is that just to share how I'm just step by step introducing this in my life. Yeah. And Anu studied chemistry, so she understands a lot about the impact of the elements on our physiology. Let's go to salt. We think salt is normal. Yes, the potassium, but not the chloride, the chlorine. So we should take potassium in the form that we don't take too much chlorine. And we can do that with baking powder. Yeah, and if we let go salt, that already has a huge impact. And it's interesting, this coincidences where I'm working, one of the staff members said, oh yeah, she is 23, she's got overweight and she was diagnosed with high blood pressure. And then she told her GP, her doctor, I'm just going to change my nutrition. I take less salt and then I don't need tablets. The doctor said, nonsense, that doesn't work. So she let go the salt and her blood pressure is normal. She went back to the doctor. Do you think the doctor acknowledged her? No, he was just pissed off that she didn't follow his advice. Yeah, so just letting go of the salt already changed her blood pressure. Yeah, and even that is known that you should eat less salt, but still the doctors think, oh no, everybody at the age of 40 should get a beta blocker to reduce the blood pressure. That's better for the health. And then I got it and I said, wow, what I am doing as a medical doctor is just discovering what in the outside might change the physiology in the inside. So I'm prescribing drugs, something from the outside you take in, and that changes your physiology. And we think to the better. And it's the same with any kind of remedy that you take from the outside. Let the remedy be also as sophisticated as homeopathy. With homeopathy, is the difference that they look what is in the inside, and then they give what's in the inside, they give the corresponding from the outside. That's the big difference. Yeah. And so it's just amazing what I discover every day, that what are you doing as a medical doctor? Yeah. I'm still working as a medical doctor in clinics because I've got a 2-year-old kid. I've got family in Ghana, which I support now that my father's passed away. And that's a necessity. What I do different now is I share with the patients, this is the possibility, this is the impact if you take it, and the other possibilities. But most of the patients are not open to look in the inside. Most project to the outside. And that's also what I'm experiencing, what's happening right now with COVID-19, that most people just express their anger, their frustration to the outside. And don't look what has it to do with myself, what's my responsibility. Yeah. So it's a huge challenge for all of us, and especially for people in South Africa. Lucille was here to talk, is still there, yeah, with the lockdown restrictions, and also in India. They are the most severe on the planet. Yeah. And the question is, what is coming after that? Yeah. If we go back to a new normal altogether, then we haven't learned anything about it. If you get it, that's normal and not natural, and now our intention is to go back to natural, then we've made a huge step. Yeah. And I'm doing that as good as I can, but as I just said, with the challenge, then because I can't cook right now at the moment, I go and eat. And if I want to avoid salt, okay, then you have to tell them no salt in the rice. Even with other stuff, I'm still eating meat, and then it's salty. Yeah. And even the oil, when you've got olive oil, there's a lot of salt in olive oil, a lot of chlorine in olive oil. And so once I went to an Indian restaurant, I said, oh, good. It's lamb, it's rice hasn't got gluten. And okay, yeah, the Indians, they take different kind of oil. But when I was eating the food, then I thought, I have never asked really what oil do they take. So I asked one of the servants, the cook, how do you cook your meals? And he said, oh, here in Germany, we take olive oil because we're in Europe. And I said, okay. And in India, he said they take mustard. I think it's mustard oil. Is that correct, Anu?
They use various oils, yeah, mustard or sunflower oil. It
Yeah.
depends on
Yeah, but in Germany, they've adapted to what they use in Germany. Then I said, wow, even to go to a restaurant, you don't know how to prepare the food and what's inside. Yeah. And when it's not the right food, we are already triggering our body to produce bile. And bile is a sign of stress. So it starts with very, very simple things. And also, it's the water that we drink from good quality. Yeah, when you look at the fourth phase and how animals drink the water, you always drink the water from the surface. Best for them is if it's a lake or even a river. And then I also found in the ancient scriptures that you can produce your own water with very good quality. You just take a big bowl of glass, fill it with water, and just let it stand, best in the sun, covered with a clean cloth, let it stand for 12 hours. Yeah, all the stuff that's not good will sink to the bottom, and then you just carefully take the water from the surface and drink it. Yeah, and then the water has got already a different quality. Yeah, I've shared with friends and they tried it and they said, wow, yeah, when I drank the water from the top, it was very good. And when I got the water which was on the bottom, yeah, the taste was not good. Complete different quality. So that means water seems to change its structure depending on how you store the water and from which level you drink. Yeah. And when you look at a lot of places where you've got these big water bottles and you've got a tap below and you're drinking the stuff which is below. For all the stuff which is not good, yeah, that's what we drink. I mean, take a water and put sand in. When you let it stand, after some hours, you see that the sand goes down and up and the water is clear. And what are we mostly doing? We're drinking the stuff which is down, which is again putting on our physiology under stress. Yeah. So there are simple things which the ancient scriptures reveal, and we are not aware of it, and we're not following them. And I think when one just starts with such easy things at the beginning, more and more awareness comes up, and then more and more, or I am aware, then to see signs and to follow them. So that's an experiment. There was an experiment that I did where 2 days I was only drinking this water, I call it whey water, and only vegetables, very, very little for 2 days. And I looked completely different. I looked younger. Yesterday, Anu said that the first time she met me, and that was in 2011, I looked older than I look now. Yeah, I showed my son, my 3-year-old son, Kweku, my driving license from 1990, I think it is, when I extended it. And he said, "Who's that?" He didn't recognize me because I look so much older.
Not only older, even your posture was different.
Yeah. And Anu said,
In Estonia, when you were standing and giving that first lecture, which I actually heard, and I was telling people today when I was doing the lecture that I heard you speaking about the eyes for the first time, but you were bending, you were not standing straight. And today, when I look at you, it's a very different. You look happier. I mean, obviously, love makes a difference. Joanne makes a difference in your life, and Kriku makes a difference in your life, and that's so nice because if anything can make a person erect and stand straight and look happy, this it shows, Crazy. And that's what I was watching your videos and I'm saying, oh my God, he's really changed. It's not just the way you look, it's the way you smile. Is another difference. I can't imagine you speaking like this about your story. And that's why I didn't stop you at all because I said, that's beautiful. I've known you for so many years, but not known you.
well, I also didn't know myself, so how can other people then know me? And that's the biggest challenge that we have, self-knowledge.
Yeah, and you would always, even on a Zoom, you wouldn't come on, you wouldn't show your, the shutter would always be down. And it's so beautiful to watch you just talk. I just sat down and I heard, I'm telling you, Bharat was there today for the workshop that I was doing. And I would really like Bharat to share if you can. Bharat, could you just share how
Yes.
the workshop was today? Because I started with Dr. Kwesi, but I really want you to talk about how you found the workshop because he's the man who taught me everything.
Uh, Oh, it was wonderful and overwhelming to hear your story, Dr. Kwesi. And we are about 11 of us today in Anu's workshop today about the eyes and how we see ourselves. And she mentioned that you are her mentor and all she learned about eyes from you. And she had conducted about one seminar about a couple of weeks back about eyes, and she related back to you something, and then you talked to her, and she spoke very highly of you, that she learned everything about eyes from you. And today all of us had a different perspective. We saw how patterns in our life or whatever situation happened affects our vision, how we see ourselves, how we perceive ourselves, how we use our words. It was mind-boggling, and we thank you, deep gratitude, because you showed, you guided Anu and everybody. There was one 13, 14-year-old young girl, and she was like, I mean, she had a different perspective altogether. And we all were very happy, and we look forward to another session from Anu next Friday. So thank you very much, Anu, and thank you, Dr. Kwesi, for leading Anu to this journey.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I myself, I've got a refractive error. I have corrected it to exercise and to reflection to a certain extent, and I still haven't overcome it 100%. When I drive a car in the night, I still need glasses. Yeah, and there was a time where I didn't need it, but then I got back into more, stress, how I see myself, how I see the world, and I haven't completely let that go yet. So I still have got a big way to go, even so from the, and also what I got is that now with a complete different understanding of physiology, the way that I have learned how our seeing, the physiology of seeing functions, I also now challenge that. There's something that up to now we haven't understood with seeing. Yeah?
Dr.
And
Kwesi, could you also tell everybody about your workshop that's going to be happening with Penny so that they can join in?
oh yes, yes.
Please.
Thank you. You see, I'm always not so much into marketing. that's what I've learned from Anu. So there is going to be a workshop on Zoom, and it's going to happen come next week, Friday, 18th of September. No, sorry, it's happening on the 17th of September, the 18th of September, and the 20th of September. So 17, 18, 20. The times, I don't want to mix them up, so Anu can share them with the times, if that's okay to share them with the group.
I
But
already
it's
have,
about,
and I'll share it again.
okay, yes. But the times have changed a bit. 17th and 18th, it's going to be at 2 p.m. German time, and Sunday it's going to be at 10 a.m. or even 9 a.m. But Anu will share that. So that's a workshop about the eyes, and it's about on understanding from the meta perspective, and also from what I learned from Professor Max Lusher, what emotions and what events are behind the eye disorders. And it's also about how we see ourselves and how we see the world, so our point of view. Because how we see ourselves, we see the world. And I will also integrate my understanding from our imprint, our best imprint, our horoscope, because there are also some astromedical constellations that explain why we have got refractive errors. But just to share what I think, my experience, what's really behind it is that we are not seeing things in all clarity, because we lack wisdom to see everything in clarity, and we lack this wisdom because we also do not know from within. Yeah, so to know from within, then we can see everything also from the outside with clarity. So it's about understanding more about ourselves. And for me now, one main aspect, one main objective in my life is to understand for myself what is my natural way of being. That also implies what is my natural physiology, because I got it for myself now that what I thought is normal physiology is already stress related. And what's normal, and how can we go step by step to implement this natural way of being in our lives, in my life. So that's my big challenge, and that's why I think refractive errors are well, I wouldn't even call it an error. That we've got a refraction where clarity is missing has to do with the collective lack of clarity about ourselves. So that's how I get it.
Absolutely. Brilliant.
You mentioned about something like we are spiritually blind, some quote you had
Exactly.
mentioned, right?
Yes, because when we don't know where do we come from, why are we here, and where are we going, we are spiritually blind. I mean, India has got a deep philosophical understanding about the nature of being with the Vedic scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita. I hardly know anything about it, and my ambition is also now to learn more about it, because in these ancient scriptures, everything is written. So my approach to get knowledge from within and to get clarity is first to look, we've got our anatomy, then we've got ancient scriptures, and then we've got the cosmos, the stars. And all three of these are telling us what we are, where we come from, and where we're going to. So the cosmos, our anatomy, physiology, and the ancient scriptures. And at the moment, I am more into the ancient scriptures because that's something that I didn't do in the past. And scripture is not scripture because Sanskrit and the biblical Hebrew seem to be some of the oldest scriptures which reveal a lot of our natural way of being. So I'm just learning now to read the Hebrew letters so that I can start also having a look at the ancient scriptures in Hebrew, and I want to do the same with Sanskrit because
Kwesi,
that
what is
gives
the
me
vision you
so
would have for your son? What's one vision you would have for Kweku?
well that he never has to go to normal school. I know Joanne is listening now, but for me, school, normal school is just. I always called teachers. Most of them were policemen of the intellect, and not inspiring.
Got it.
To have a real education where there is freedom to ask everything that you want, and where you're not being restricted to only go in this way. That's the vision that I have. Yeah, and then he can choose himself what he wants, and that he grows up in an environment where he's also got contact to nature. Yeah, yeah,
So Kwesi, I'm
and
going
play
to
for
ask you last one question. One
yes.
question I haven't asked, and I'm going to be a little naughty, so just warning you beforehand. So Kwesi, what according to you is real love?
Hmm.
Because they say healing comes when real love comes. So what according to you is real love?
Well, now I tell you something as an eye doctor. There is a saying in Germany that says love makes blind. I don't know if you also have that in India or in English, but in German it says Liebe macht blind. Do you also have that in English or?
Yeah. Love makes people blind. We say it in Hindi too.
Yeah, and isn't that interesting?
Yeah, we say that. Today I got a lot of Bollywood into our program.
And
so, yes.
And that's utter nonsense. And love makes seeing. That's how I get it. And that's when the day I saw Joanne different was the day I fell in love with her, because I saw her different. Yeah. And that's something I can't explain. That was just a deep feeling.
Yes.
What? What?
Bharat is spelling here. Like he's saying you're blushing.
I'm what?
You're blushing.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
You're feeling.
Well, you are a very good observer. A lot of people can't see that with Black people. You are very good. Yeah, so that's a good thing to live with whites. Most of them don't see that. Yeah, so it has to do with seeing, and that seeing also came from a feeling, and there was a deep knowing inside myself. I want to be together with Joanne, and I didn't give up. Yeah, and and this is also the feeling to take the other person that you love the way the person is, and not thinking that I have to fix the person. And that's a huge challenge that I have with myself and with other people. So I'm not always in love, because sometimes I think, no, this can't be like that. But to be at love and to be at peace and to be at joy, that for me belongs all together. When I'm in love, then I'm in peace and I'm at joy. And that means that even if there is something that is not the way that I expect it to be, I can still be at peace with it, because and the joy. Because joy and peace doesn't mean I'm only joyful and peaceful when things turn out how I expected it. It's just the opposite, when things are not like that. And then you can be at peace and at joy and at love, whatever it is. So love means to be connected. to belong. And that's the biggest challenge for me in my life because of the experience that I had as a kid. Not as a kid, as a toddler, when my father left me alone, because I felt completely disconnected. Yeah, some people said when I was young, I was just only into football and into learning. I was never interested into girls. Are you autistic or what? Because I didn't have this feeling to belong, because there was always the fear, if you connect with somebody, they will just leave you alone. Yeah, so in my past relations, then I was the one who left before they left me.
Wow. Kwesi, I'm going to just show you something.
Mm-hmm.
Just give me a minute, let me share. You see, this was my favorite when I was a kid.
I even don't know that.
You see that?
Yes, that must have been the 70s. That was when this haircut was very popular.
Yeah. When I first saw you sitting in Estonia, I felt I had met a childhood superhero right sitting there next to me. And
To
this
look at
happened
it.
also with Richard Fluke. Richard Fluke was my Captain Kirk from
Enterprise, Star Trek Enterprise.
absolutely. And every Sunday we used to have a fight in my house because my father wouldn't let me watch any of these programs, and I had to. So there used to be a fight, and I would be sitting in front of them and watching. Little did I know that I'm going to have a Captain Kirk in my life. I'm going to have different strokes in my life, and I'm going to have so many more heroes in my life. Thank you. I cannot tell you how thankful I am and how much in gratitude I am. I will confess today, I never took an eye workshop because I often think that's not my premise. But when I took today, and with your blessings, I really feel that with every step, I've been sitting down and I've been more fascinated than ever before. I cannot thank you enough. You've given me the vision and light in my life.
I have to thank you, Anu, because whenever we meet, whenever we communicate, it's as if I'm meeting a soulmate. Not that if it is being in conversation with a soulmate. And also thank you that you now doing something with your eyes, because what I have realized is that a lot of people in the community are intimidated by my way of teaching and knowledge about the eyes, that they say, oh, whatever they do will not be good enough. So that's where I have also realized I have to be more down to earth and make things easier, so and that people feel encouraged to do it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for allowing me to be myself, and thank you so much for everything. From here, we take a leave. Anybody has any questions? Any questions? Okay. So we meet again on 13th. That's after 2 days on Sunday with 2 new speakers, and we'll be completing 200.
Wow.
Yes. And that's another, yeah, it is, because I never thought we'll cross anything. And this has only happened because I think there is something else that's running this forum, because I don't think I could have done it. I really, really believe this 5.5 months have enriched me. You know, one of the things that changed, I want to know people. I want to know who you are. I want to know not just what you teach, because that's a part of you. I want to know who you are. What were your challenges? What made you go ahead? What didn't make you ever give up your life? Did you ever try committing suicide? What happened when you lost your father? What happened when you lose a spouse? What happens when a person loses a child? And I want to know what is the strength that keeps you going. And that strength will light someone else and will carry light in someone else's life. So I really thank each and every one of you to support me. And thank you so much, Dr. Kwesi. Thank you, Joanne, for being here. And thank you, each and every one of you.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
I also want to thank Joanne for the love and the joy and the peace that she and Kweku bring in my life. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank
Good
you.
night.